Right now, half of all New Zealand Accredited Employer Work Visa applications are being processed in exactly 21 days. Boom! Just like that. If you're gearing up to move your life and career to New Zealand in 2026, understanding exactly how Immigration New Zealand handles that visa is literally the single most critical factor in your planning. In this post-2025 landscape, simply assuming you know the timeline, well, that can cost you your job offer before your plane even touches down. Okay, let's just dive straight into this explainer. We're going to unpack the data, pinpoint the true operational bottlenecks, and lay out the exact tactical steps you absolutely must take to get your application pushed into the fast lane.
21 days. Based on the most recent June 2026 data released by Immigration New Zealand, this is the median processing time for the Accredited Employer Work Visa, or AEWV. Now, let's be absolutely clear about what a median actually means here. It means exactly 50% of all applications submitted get a decision within 3 weeks. Half the people applying are getting their answers rapidly. But hold on a second. Before you go ahead and book those flights or hand in your notice at your current job, we really need to take a hard look at the other half of that data pool. Because honestly, that is exactly where the danger lies.
The processing data perfectly illustrates the reality of the bell curve. While that median sits at a really swift 21 days, stretching out to capture 80% of applications pushes that timeline up to 32 days. And hanging over this whole thing is Immigration New Zealand's official processing target, which currently sits at roughly 7 weeks. So what's the crucial takeaway? Your application is definitely not guaranteed to take 21 days. Depending almost entirely on how you file your paperwork, you could easily get pushed toward that 32-day mark, or even find yourself waiting well past that 7-week official target.
So why does that timeline shift so dramatically? It basically comes down to how the system categorizes files into 2 distinct buckets. First, you've got straightforward applications. These contain absolutely every single piece of required evidence in the exact correct format right from day one. They flow through the system like water, zero friction. Second, we have complex applications. These are the ones that get flagged for medical issues, character concerns, or, most commonly, missing checks. For instance, if you submit your file before your employer's mandatory job check is fully finalized in the system, bam, your file is instantly classified as complex, and once you fall into that bucket, you are immediately pushed out of the fast lane.
Let's look at how this builds into specific operational bottlenecks. Like, what actually causes a delay? Well, right at the top of the list is incomplete documentation. Forget a single required file and everything grinds to a halt. Then there's that missing employer job check we just talked about. We also see major holdups from medical and police certificate issues, which often rely on third-party timelines that Immigration New Zealand literally has zero control over. And finally, the absolute biggest timeline killer, the RFI or Request for Information cycle. If an officer questions your evidence or needs more proof, they don't just wait around for you to reply. They shoot off an RFI email, stop assessing your file entirely, and put your application straight back at the bottom of their digital pile. That cycle alone can easily add weeks, if not months, to your wait time. No joke.
To truly master this process, you need to understand the internal pipeline your file goes through. It's like a 3-stage gauntlet. Stage 1 is submission. Your file is scanned and formally accepted. The friction point here is immediate. If your documents are incomplete right out of the gate, the application is simply returned. Stage 2 is lodgement. This is where your file enters a waiting room to be allocated to a human immigration officer. Because of high application volumes, the sheer number of files in this queue creates a massive backlog. Your application might literally just sit there for weeks before an officer even clicks open your digital folder. Finally, stage 3 is verification. This is where the officer actually assesses your eligibility. And, like we said, if they question anything at all during this stage, you get hit with that devastating RFI cycle. So knowing all of this, we inevitably arrive at the exact question on every single waiting applicant's mind. Where is my application right now, and when am I going to get an answer?
Fortunately, Immigration New Zealand released an incredibly useful system upgrade in March of 2026 to answer exactly that. This is a total game changer compared to the old system where applicants were just left completely in the dark, guessing when an email might magically arrive. Here is the operational intelligence you need. First, log directly into the online portal where you applied. Second, access the newly integrated Processing Times tool. And third, the system will now generate a dynamically estimated decision date for you. And look, this isn't just some generic target slapped on a web page. It's an active estimate, calculated based on the exact date you submitted your specific file against the current rolling average processing times. It is absolutely the best visibility you can get while you wait.
Section 3, 3 practical steps to avoid delays.
Step 1, submit complete documents. I cannot overstate this enough. You must submit a pristine application. Only include the exact documentary evidence they ask for.
ensure it's in the correct format, and get it professionally translated into English if necessary. Do not include random unrequested documents. Seriously, throwing in an unsolicited cover letter, a 10-page portfolio, or some irrelevant high school diploma actually slows the system down. You're forcing the officer to spend extra time reading and verifying things they didn't even ask for. Providing exactly what is required, and nothing more, on day one is your absolute strongest defense against falling into a request for information cycle.
Step 2. Use a licensed immigration advisor. If you have any medical history, character issues, or a complicated employment background, do not try to guess your way through these forms. A professional advisor ensures correct document preparation the very first time. But more importantly, they anticipate complex issues before they trigger those dreaded delays, actively formatting your narrative. Look, immigration officers are essentially looking for reasons to approve files quickly so they can just move on to the next one. A good advisor hands them that justification on a silver platter, giving the officer exactly the context they need to approve the file without hesitation.
Step 3. Apply early and build a buffer. Remember, the AEWV process is a tandem operation. Your employer's required job check takes 4 to 6 weeks to process before you can even begin your visa application. Then, you've got to account for that 7-week visa processing target. This means you need to factor in a total buffer of at least 2 to 3 months before your intended start date in New Zealand. Please do not leave this to the last minute. The anxiety of breaking your current residential lease or resigning from your job without a visa actually in hand, it's immense. Don't make any life-altering moves until that buffer is built into your timeline. Because ultimately, your visa dictates everything. It dictates your job start date, your housing, and your entire transition to life in New Zealand. The data is incredibly clear here. Clean applications get processed in weeks, complex ones get dragged out for months. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Are you prepared to submit a truly flawless application, or will a simple piece of missing evidence push you straight to the back of the line? Review your paperwork, take command of the process, and good luck with your journey to New Zealand.